has their costumes ready. And then we have the elections coming up next week. So we have been seeing the markets just kind of throwing a hissy fit because of that and probably a few other things. Another thing I want to show you is if you guys have any questions about myself, who I am, where to find more information, all that kind of stuff, you can go here to profitpilot.com. And, last time I wrote a newsletter here, I was looking at some strength. This is why I wrote the thing, seeing strength but when. Left it kind of open. I was seeing some signals, some signs. Basically, you can look through here. I was looking at price kind of holding on some of these previous levels. Now, some stocks have actually held up fairly well considering. We'll go through some of those. But yeah, the market is just not happy. The one thing I will then show, actually I was kind of look at the metals as we were talking about here. The one thing I will show is that I made a post to my Moxie channel subscribers right in through here, and what I wanted to show with that was that yesterday it's kind of, we're trying to, like with my newsletter, I was trying to show, hey, is there going to be some strength, trying to figure out if something's going on there, what are we looking at? And then starting this week, market kind of came down, even last week came down. And you can see here in the bottom left that the date was yesterday, mid-morning, late morning, I guess. And I was saying, hey, just a little update. I'm actually on the West Coast time, so this is 11:36 West Coast time. And what I was looking at is, hey, price has bounced up for today, which would be Tuesday, yesterday. And I said, price is running right into the underside of a downtrending 15-minute 50. And the Moxie indicator here is below zero, and it's spread, meaning it's not very strong. And, I even said in here, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of curious, where's this pullback going to go? Let me kind of try some fibs. Now, fibs aren't really my total thing, but I thought, well, let's see what's going on. So I threw a Fibonacci on here, and, the move Monday actually went right to the 50% retracement and then bounced a little bit. And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of interesting. It's right also at the hourly 200. Let's see if that means anything. And you can see here in the alert that I posted, I said, it's a typical thing for price to do halfback, pull back 50%, but it's absolutely no guarantees. And this is where I need to start using some of my other time frames and looking around a little bit more to say, hey, is this going to do something? And that's where I then switched over to the 15. You can see right here that price was running right into the underside of a downtrending 15-minute 50. The Moxie indicator was weak. The hourly chart still had the 8 below the 21, and as I said, there was no guarantee that the 50% nor the hourly 200 were going to work or as support, and the Moxie indicator just kept going down on the hourly chart. So at this point, clearly, this pullback that I've been trying to view as a pullback to support, which based on my newsletter, I was looking for price to pretty much stay here above this point, which everything was looking good until Monday. When Monday happened, we opened with a significant move down. I was like, whoop, everything has changed at that point. Now, I just wanted to show you this as far as the kind of stuff that I communicate to my subscribers, what it looks like, how I keep them abreast of all the news and the information and what's going on. Let me show you the charts in their actuality, and going into that newsletter where I was saying, hey, I'm seeing some strength, but when, we're kind of looking, I'm not putting any big long bets on here, we're just going to be hanging out. The thing that I then saw, and I'd been writing to the subscribers about this for quite some time, is like, hey, we need to see price do something about this hourly 50. On Friday, I was like, I'm seeing some sort of strength here. Like, hey, is price going to be able to hold the 15-minute 50? I don't want to be putting anything long going into the weekend, which turned out to be the best decision. And I wanted to actually see a little bit more proof and a little bit more, strength and actually confirmation that these moving averages were holding. And instead, what happened was price ran just right smack dab into the underside of a downtrending 15 hourly 50, just like price ran right smack into the underside of a downtrending 15-minute 50. So this is why I like moving averages. This is why I love using the Moxie indicator and telling me all this stuff. But this is why I trust my moving averages on various time frames, because you can see the same situation happened here on the hourly as it did on the 15. So that was kind of some stuff. Now, where we're going to go from here or today, yeah, that's a tough one. But I would say pretty sooner than later, I'd imagine that we are really oversold. The hourly chart is way, way outside of the lower third ATR. on that kind of scale, it is really oversold. Now, that doesn't mean it can't get worse, but it's telling me that this thing is pretty stretched to the downside, and I'd be curious. I haven't been shorting it this whole time. I'm just not shorting it. I'm viewing this as kind of just a vacuum of energy. People are just not putting money to work, and I just don't see anybody really doing much as far as investing in the market because ahead of the elections, lack of stimulus, earnings, and then COVID cases going up. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff, cross currents that are happening. So I just haven't been wanting to trade either way. So I've been putting on a couple positions here and very very lightly. And but I do view this as pretty oversold. I mean, this thing has gone straight down for the day. At some point, it's going to bounce. The question is, what is it going to do after that bounce? That's why I'm still watching. Primarily the 15-minute time frame, because that gives me the best lower information. And that post that I had yesterday was just spot on for that. On the daily chart, we're coming back into some of this previous support. We're coming down into the daily third ATR. And then even if we go to the weekly and monthly, we could just, I've also been saying we could just be in chop. It depends on what time frame you're looking at, but we could be back into some support there, which is support right there. It's also the weekly 21. Who knows at this point? I just think that not much is, we're going to not get much going for before the election. So yeah, send me some things that you guys want to be looking at. With the market down like this, we're just kind of sitting on our hands. So let me know if there's anything you're looking at. Maybe if there's some positions that are kind of in trouble. Let's see what we could look at. Let's see if there were any signs before you got in trouble. And let's kind of look at this as an educational moment and see what we can do. Because, as I said, right now, everything's down. There's not much to do about this. Kind of waiting for a bounce. We'll see what can happen. Looking at the dollar, I had actually been thinking, hey, is this thing going to break lower? So I've been looking for that. Hasn't happened. Haven't been making any moves yet. The one thing I did see here on the weekly is that there's the beginning of my famous elf shoe patterns. It's just a double bottom, but it has that formation. It looks like a shoe. It looks like the side of a leg with a shoe, and it's an elf because it usually goes up. So I've been looking at this. Leg, heel, arch of the foot, ball of the foot. This is on the weekly time frame for the dollar. And I'm just kind of curious to see what's going to be happening. Is this double bottom going to hold and are we eventually going to see the dollar move back up? Or is this just a double bottom that's resting until it goes back lower? That's where we have to go back down to lower time frames, take a look at that. And where I was right about this one last week. I was like, hey, this is coming into some support. It's also oversold. Note the third ATR type situation, just like the market itself. And it bounced. Well, I was thinking it just wanted to bounce closer into the underside of the hourly 50, and then I thought it'd kind of keep going down. Gold, silver were kind of looking a little bit promising, but I hadn't made any moves yet, and poof, we get this big move up right now. So at this point, just kind of letting this go by, waiting for more information to see what it wants to do. It is up at the hourly 200, which is resistance, so we'll have to see if it can use the hourly 50 for support at some point. And then what that would do is bring us over to GLD. And Arjav, I see that you're posting something, but yeah, if anybody else out there wants to take a look around at anything, as I said, it's kind of one of those just walk through days. Let's just kind of see what else is out there, see if anything's holding up with any kind of strength. With GLD and silver, what I'd been looking at is, hey, maybe we're making some progress here because on the hourly chart, the 50 is starting to cross above the 200. And I thought that's usually good. A trend to the upside is starting to be confirmed or possible when the fast moving average, the 50, starts to move over the slow moving average, the 200. So I've been keeping an eye on that, but I hadn't really seen a setup. My other concern, well, benefit and then concern, let me show you here, is what I was looking at was that right here, the 8 was about to cross over the 21. So remember, fast moving average was about to move over the slow moving average, so that's good, that's bullish. However, I kept noticing that 1, price ran into the underside of a downtrending daily 50, and 2, the daily 50 was starting to turn down also, and I just thought, this still doesn't look quite good. I really thought kind of Monday, Tuesday was going to be a good trade for gold or silver. It just never quite happened, and so I hadn't made any moves. And right here you can see silver also. Silver was a little bit easier to read as far as the don't go in type thing, because if we look here, you can see that price could never get over the hourly 50. The 8 was always underneath the 21, and I couldn't confirm that price was going to hold the 15-minute 50 here because the Moxie indicator wasn't looking too strong. So just kind of waiting on something like this, seeing if anything was going to happen, and it didn't. So happy that not taking any poor trades on that one. Imran, good to see you. Yep, Thomas, great. We'll get to that. Let's see, R-A-R-E, rare. Yep, these are actually holding up pretty well. Now, I don't trade earnings. So for anybody bringing up anything, if it has earnings tomorrow or 2 days from now, I can't trade anything like that because I just always skip earnings. You know, maybe the day of earnings, because if the report is already out, great, but a lot of times it's probably moved too much, so I usually want the day after, or you know, maybe even a week later. It just depends on how things go. Looks like this one's already out and been reported. Yeah, rare, looking fairly interesting. It's holding up. The Moxie indicator is positive, the 15-minute Moxie indicator is positive, the 15-minute 50 is up, and the hourly 50 is up, and it looks like it is trying to break out from its previous high. So yes, all of these things look good. If something like this is going to work and continue, I would initially prefer to see it engage with the 15-minute 50 and start moving up, but in this market, it hasn't really been caring too much about the 15-minute time frame, and then even the hourly gets a little bit sloppy. So just understand that even though this looks good, it might still have some trouble getting any place. And on a larger time frame, probably what I'd be looking at is if it can't hold the hourly 50, then I'd be out. So hopefully, you know, that percentage, that is, you know, it's kind of a decent percentage from if you were to enter here to where you need to go down there. That's, let me kind of zoom down. That's yeah, that's 7.5%. It's a fairly large stop. I would see if maybe this thing can actually bounce off of the hourly 50 at some point in the future. But just keep in mind the condition of the market right now. But yes, when you see good, strong stocks like this that are holding up when the market's down like this, you want to keep those on your list and watch them because they might be good candidates later. Travelers Insurance, okay. Making some progress. And I always talk about when price gets too extended, and we could see that a couple times here. Price was off the hourly 50, wanted to come back down. Price was off the hourly 50, wanted to come back down. So be aware of those big pullbacks. Also, the other thing I'd see on the daily chart is it looks like it had a big move after earnings. Great. You know, if you're not already in, fine. There's always a second opportunity, and here is that second opportunity. Because price got way extended on the daily chart, way outside third ATR, way off of the 8 EMA, and as I said, way off of the hourly 50. So really, really overbought. And then what did it do? Came back down, couldn't quite hold the hourly 50, but this now is what I call a trampoline move. Price below the 50, the Moxie indicator above 0, meaning this is a high buoyancy trade. The momentum and energy is still positive, and the hourly 50 is still in an uptrend, so this is usually one of those buyable dips. I like to see them actually turn around and confirm, but typically they are buyable dips. So travelers, yeah, actually looking pretty good, pretty interesting. I'd like to see price get on top of the 15-minute 50 and then use the 15-minute 50 for support. Yeah, Sean, we did cover silver. Basically, not much is happening with silver. You know, it dropped down. I still didn't see any type of entry. Even silver could not get over the hourly 50. The 8 was still below the 21, and I was always kind of concerned about this daily 50 overhead. So even though I keep looking at it, nothing had set up, and so I'm just on the sidelines. Now maybe we get into, since I'm talking about it again, maybe we get into this double bottom area. That's a possibility, but we've got some work to do until that actually confirms. All right, then DKNG, and good to see you, Sean. Welcome to the live session this morning. DKNG, been looking at this for quite some time. In fact, I made a little bit of a mark here because that's when I was starting to look at this somewhat seriously and say, hey, maybe we're getting something. That was also where I had this arrow, because what we had was price down, Moxie indicator up, and the Moxie indicator started to look better, but at that point it just never did anything. Price could never get over the 15-minute 50. It never did it. And then when it did do it, it couldn't even hold it. And right there you could see the price right there when it's trying to get over the 15-minute 50, it was running right into the underside of a downtrending hourly 50. Same thing as the market. I mean, the market on Friday going into Monday ran right into the underside of a downtrending hourly 50. So this is why I use these moving averages. This is why I look at them. This is why I'm usually what I call the second entry type trader, because I want to see price actually confirm by getting on top of moving averages and using those moving averages for support. And something like this, it ran right smack into the underside. Now, where we're at currently, yeah, this thing keeps getting oversold, oversold, oversold. I mean, third ATR, we're back at the third ATR, and we're even at the daily third ATR. We're also even back into all of this previous price area, so that should be some sort of support. It's not exact, not definite right now, but it should act as some support. And I keep seeing divergences. We keep seeing price come down here, and the Moxie indicator keeps trying to hold its own. Moxie indicator is actually looking like it's getting tight again. And on the hourly, we see price down, but the Moxie indicator is starting to trend up. So it sure does look like to me that DKNG is trying to stop. It's trying to stop its move to the downside. It's trying to find a bottom. It's trying to get on top of these things. It's trying to turn around, but it hasn't yet. And I'll be looking for those key indications of whenever price can get on top of these moving averages and turn them into support, because right now they are resistance. Alright, so then just one more time for anybody else who's showing, if you guys don't know me, want to know more information, come over to profitpilot.com. This is where we have my newsletters, and then if you guys are looking for the services as far as the alert service and the subscription and the Moxie indicator and the classes and all that kind of stuff, this is where we do it. And then quickly going back to the post that I had made yesterday for the Moxie members, I wanted to show that boy, this was spot on. I posted yesterday, you can see on the 27th, that I had been seeing that price was running right into the underside of a downtrending 15-minute 50 with the Moxie indicator underneath 0, and therefore that led me to believe that there was going to be more downside. Now, we never know how much more downside. Like today was a pretty big down day, but as far as getting the market right and reading this correctly, I was spot on yesterday. So that is how I read and interpret the market, and hopefully all the Moxie subscribers are benefiting from that. JR, thanks, appreciate it. All right, then let's see. LVGO, I don't think there's going to be much to talk about that, Chris, because Teladoc and LVGO are merging, and a lot of times until that finishes, they can just be dead money. And you can see here we had one little blip back here, and ever since then it just didn't do anything. It tried to sucker some people in. It never even held the 15-minute 50, and then you can see it just got back underneath the hourly 50 and couldn't do anything. So this has just been dead money. It's not doing anything. We have earnings tomorrow. I don't trade earnings. It is trying to find some support at the daily 50. The hourly 200 is up, but I just don't think there's anything here. And with earnings looking like it's tomorrow, it's a complete crapshoot as to what can happen. Now, maybe nothing happens. We don't know that either. Okay, so Jonathan, have I found the hourly trampoline versus daily trampoline tend to identify better long entries, or is it, I'm presuming, case-by-case, context-driven? Probably the safer answer is case-by-case and context-driven. The thing, let me show you back to, well, let's go to the Qs, because I haven't marked that one up too much. Actually, no, let's do AMD, because that's a good example. That's what I've been talking about quite a bit. When people ask me about trampoline moves, and they're great when they work, but I always have to say, you don't want to catch a falling knife, and you don't want to buy something like that. And so how do you know when a trampoline move works? And that helps keep you from buying something that just keeps moving down. Well, then that's why I don't buy the dip. I'm not just like, I'm just going to buy the dip. I don't do that. I have to wait for price to turn around and get back on top of stuff. And so what I look for is, in this situation, you could see price was underneath the hourly 50. Moxie indicator was above 0 at the time. Potential trampoline move. So I look for price to then get on top of these moving averages and start to move up. And that's when I'm willing to go in. And then I put my stop just underneath it in case it doesn't hold and breaks, because what can happen? Just like this, it can keep melting down. And then you can see that the trampoline move just vaporizes. It just never, it doesn't happen, it doesn't exist. It could never actually get on top of moving averages. And so that's why I look at that and say, oh, never worked. And the S&P did the same thing. I was looking originally at a trampoline move, but then once it hit the underside of the hourly 50 and could not hold the 15-minute 50, all that went out the window. And then what you could see is the daily So everything I just talked about there with AMD about an hourly trampoline move, and I'm looking down at the 15-minute for the beginning of it, is the same thing when you ask about, well, which is better, the daily or the hourly? They're the same, you just have to look at them in context. So for the daily, since we had a daily trampoline move, you then look at the hourly to say, when is that trampoline move going to work and was it going to come out of that trampoline move? So here is the daily chart in a trampoline move, which is price below the 50, but the Moxie indicator above 0. So then what you do is you then look at the next lower time frame, which is the hourly, and you can see where's your entry when price gets on top of the hourly 50 right there. And you can see that we could have even had price down. Well, we start right there, price down, Moxie indicator up. Then you had your level, Moxie indicator continue to go up, and then price got on top of the 50, and that's how you can confirm the exit or the beginning of a trampoline move, whether it's on the daily or the hourly. In a market like this, because we're being a little bit more nimble, I like the hourly and the 15, so I like the hourly trampoline. For something where we're in more of a trend and you can kind of hold on to things, or maybe your time scale, maybe you like to trade on the weekly, daily, and hourly, then fine, use a daily trampoline, but you have to look at the next time frame down. So, which one better for long entries? It just depends on your time scale, your time frame. All right, let me know what else you guys are looking at. Otherwise, we'll keep kind of bopping around and seeing what's going on out there. JD was looking fairly interesting. I think this is one of the ones that I referenced as far as seeing strength but when, because what I've been seeing for a lot of stocks is that they popped up and then they came back down and they sat right on top of their previous price area, and even their previous price area right there. So I was looking at that as generally bullish. I was looking at that for the market as well until that changed. And even yesterday you could see price popped up again. But for me, I didn't want to go in because market, like, hey, we need to find stuff that can keep going up when the market goes down, because I was like, I think the market's going to go down. And you could see that yesterday price was here, the 15-minute 50 was here, and therefore I didn't want to enter, because in order to even determine if price was going to hold, I needed to give it that much room to work. And you can see that since the market opened with a gap down and a rundown, this thing continued to fall. One of the other ones, so talk about some of the IPOs that have been getting talked about and getting some love. And you can see kind of the same thing, like JD, and the same reference that I made to the newsletter that is on the Profit Pilot website. You can see here Snow did that same kind of concept where it popped like that, and then it came back down and it's sitting on its previous price area. Usually that's pretty good. Usually that's a bullish signal and bullish sign, because it's sitting right on top of what used to be resistance is now support, and it's a lot of price action. So we're kind of looking through something like this, seeing if something's going to happen. Again, I put a mark. We had some traders going into it yesterday, but I put a mark on it because I wanted to say, okay, where is that reference? I always need to see, well, where was it? I didn't want to go in because I could see that this was potentially the arch of the foot for my elf shoe pattern. Like, here's your leg, here's your heel, here's the arch of your foot, ball of the foot. Is this going to be the ball of the foot? It might be, because this is also trampoline move. Price below the 50, Moxie indicator above 0. The 15-minute Moxie indicator is looking better, and I want to see price actually engage with and hold the 15-minute 50. So Snow is actually holding up pretty darn well considering what the market's doing. The other IPO that seems to be holding up pretty well is U. Now, the thing I've been looking at, same thing, it popped up over here and then it's pulled back to its previous price area. Look at the volume that has been coming in the last 4 days, so that's really good. Now, yesterday it did start to break out. It hasn't held, clearly because the market pulled back, but this isn't too bad. This is not too bad yet. Look at this. We're still at the hourly 50. We bounced off the hourly 50. It's at the 8 EMA, and it's holding up. It's even moving up a little bit based on the pullback today. So I think some of these IPOs might actually be interesting and could maybe be some strength despite what the market's doing. All right, TIFF. That must be Tiffany. Let's see. Yep, Tiffany Co. Just making sure I haven't used that one in a long time. Shorting. I'd be hesitant to short something that's in an uptrend. So let me first tell you that, Bhaskar. Yes, it's extended, But kind of like I was telling Imram in the past, you don't necessarily want to be shorting something that all you're trying to do is catch a pullback in an uptrend. I mean, and look at this thing. This thing had a lot of volume to push it up there. So it's got a lot of buying, and it just bounced off its hourly 50. So not something I'd really want to tackle for the short side. If anything, I'd like to be in it long, but maybe take some off because it is up here. It is outside the third. It is extended. But I think you're playing with fire by trying to short something that clearly looks pretty strong, and it could keep going, or it could, if it pulls back, it could just go sideways and chop you up. So I'd be real careful about trying to short that. Let's see. SRRK. Oh, this is not really up my alley. When you get something that moves so crazy like this with massive volume when before it didn't really have much volume. Because let's see, what the volume on this thing is 12 million. What did it do before it popped? It had 50,000 shares traded per day. Yeah, I'm not really going to be touching something like this because who knows what that is. It's weird news. This is like some explosive thing, and it went from 50,000 shares to 12 million. I don't know what's going on with that thing, so I'm just going to stay away from that. So yeah, sorry Joe. The best thing I could tell you is follow the 15-minute 50, but man, these things can implode and change course real quickly. It's really, really tough to try and trade something like this. If anything, try and day trade it if you can. That's a tough one. Alright, so Jonathan's good to see you, by the way, Jonathan. And as far as snow, let's see. For a potential entry, would you wait for the 15-minute Moxie to get back above zero and tighten up, or would engagement with the 15-minute 50 be enough? Well, I like that the overall, let's kind of set this up and talk about big picture. So big picture is you have all of this previous price area acting as support, which it's now acting as support. That's great. I like that. So big picture looking pretty good. Zoom in a little bit further. We've had one trampoline move. Now we've had a second trampoline move. Okay, that's usually pretty good. Also, this looks like the elf shoe I talk about. Leg, heel, arch of the foot, ball of the foot. So that's looking good because what you could see, big moat, little moat, and the Moxie indicator still above zero. Now I can give a little bit of leeway to the 15-minute Moxie, but yes, generally what I want to see is the Moxie indicator get nice and tight and stay above zero. That looks beautiful. That's the kind of stuff I want, and you can see also that price generally kept holding the 15-minute 50 and looking pretty good right there. So it would be great to see the Moxie indicator tighten up, get on top of zero. Maybe we can fudge it a little bit if things keep looking good, if the market kind of doesn't fall apart too much, because I think the market's now oversold, so I'd like to see it kind of continue to float up. And so if the market doesn't just keep selling off because it's oversold, then if price can generally hold the 15-minute 50, if the 8 can get on top of the 21, if this thing looks decent by the end of the day, then I would say, yeah, let's give it a shot. And at that point, I want to see price continue to stay over the 15-minute 50. If it can't hold the 15-minute 50, then that would be our stop. And or if price, I guess, wants to get back below here, which seems about 251, 252, then I'd be out of it too. Like, this thing needs to basically work from this point forward. Otherwise, got to get out. Or if things change, then you got to get out. What is CLF doing anyway? Oh, it's actually up quite a bit. Man, what a ride that thing has been. Some stocks are just tough. Like, look at this. How sometimes I look at this even myself. Where's this? Come on. I have so many things down here. Sometimes I just ask myself, it's like, how do you ever handle something like that? I just don't even have an answer for you, because who knows, when you get a stock that looks pretty good, like it just tapped the hourly 50 right there, then shoots up, and you're like, okay, I do see it's overextended. It is outside of the third ATR, it's off the hourly 50, all that kind of stuff, and the best I could even hope is, well, move your stop to break even. And then the next day you get this just massive vertical drop down, and you get stopped out. That's about the best that I could hope for, because then you don't have to ride that out, and then you can kind of miss that. And if you're not shaking off too much, then maybe you can try it again at some point. But that's why I like to just work with stops, because if crap hits the fan, whatever like that, you can just say, hey, at least I'm out, and don't have to deal with that. But yeah, man, I look at stuff like that and I just think, how are you ever supposed to trade through that? How are you supposed to stick with it? But otherwise, since it got back on track, the 8 was over the 21, the Moxie indicator was above 0. Even this pullback was a trampoline move right there. And if you can look once more at this trampoline move, we zoom in right there, even if you weren't able to catch, say, the bottom through here, what you can see is right there, the 8 got on top of the 21, price was on top of the hourly 50, and the Moxie indicator was above 0. There's your entry. So it doesn't matter that we're looking at CLF, it could be anything we're looking at. That is the kind of stuff. Those are very, very clean, and that's where we can go for a good clean entry. And actually, here we go. Here's the 15-minute, and you can see this is why I look for the 15-minute to re-engage, because not super clean here, not super clean there, but right there, price got on top of the 15-minute 50. The Moxie indicator was over 0. The 8 was over 21 right there, and that was looking pretty good. So keep an eye on that when we look at snow, because I know a lot of people are talking about snow. We're going to have to see that. And I'm an end-of-day trader. We're just going to have to wait and see what the end of the day looks like and see if this actually holds and shapes up. So, all right, guys, let's kind of just circle back one more time. If you guys don't know me, profitpilot.com, you come over here, you can check out these services. This is for the Moxie Mastery Alert. We actually had a lot of subscribers in the chat room today, so thanks for coming and joining. The Moxie stock method, if you guys want to look at the indicator and the class, and then otherwise you come over to here to home and you can check out the newsletters. I guess no, I thought I refreshed this. Anyway, yeah, seeing strength but win was the one before where I was trying to say, hey, I'm seeing some stuff actually holding support. I want to look at that, and then knowing when to try twice. Yeah, sometimes you have to get in and out of a trade a couple times before it actually works, and that was the story about that one. All right, everyone. Well, let's take care out there, and good luck. The market is, just having a hissy fit before the election, lack of stimulus, earnings, and COVID. So, no really, really big bets right now, and just maybe even go to a market vacation until after the election and see if that helps straighten anything up. But yeah, good luck out there, and I'll talk to you next week. Thanks again.